So very excited. And with that, let us introduce our next speaker. Amy is amazing. Amy, have you joined yet, by the way? I'm looking at folks
I'm
with
here,
cameras.
yes.
Hi, Amy, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Excited to be here.
Amy, I am really excited too. And in putting together the slide, I saw that you are a baker. Can you spend like 1 second on that?
Yeah, so I was pretty burnt out a year ago, and I took 6 months off of my content design work to work at a bakery. And now on the side, I do pop-ups, I raise money for fundraisers, and kind of keep my spirit going with baking when things get hard at work.
I love that so much. What's your favorite thing to make?
Right now, pizza, because I get to make it outside when it's nice out.
Aw. And where are you joining us from, Amy?
I am joining from Salt Lake City, Utah.
Yay. Oh, welcome. All righty. Well, I will stop sharing screen, Amy,
All right, and I will
and
start
we'll give
sharing mine.
cool.
Okay, here we go.
Yay.
So, hi everyone. I am Amy, as you just heard. We'll go into slideshow mode here. I am a content design lead at OKCoin. And again, just want to say thank you, May and Ryder, for having me. I'm very excited to be here today and share a little bit about OKCoin and the work that I'm doing with all of you. And let me just get my little timer going so I make sure I stay on time today. Okay. So I'm going to be talking about building common vocabulary, primarily in the crypto space. But I think this is applicable to a lot of the new technologies like the metaverse and any kind of new decentralized technology where, there are not a lot of rules and a lot of different people co-creating the language. So that's what I'm going to focus on today. And to tell you a little bit about OKCoin, we are one of the world's largest and fastest growing cryptocurrency exchanges. We help millions of people buy and sell Bitcoin every day, along with more than 20 other crypto assets. And we're also trying to build an inclusive future for finance, one that helps people open new opportunities to learn financial literacy, store value, and build wealth. So that is something that I think about a lot in the work that I'm doing as a content designer. So the crypto landscape, if you take a look at the news, is pretty wild. There's a lot happening in crypto. There's a lot of FOMO, fear of missing out. There's also a lot of fear in getting involved. Basically, it is just a roller coaster, and you're in or you're out, you're winning or you're losing. A lot of people just have a lot of questions. And the news you hear about crypto, your understanding of crypto really also depends about where in the world you live, what are the local, culture and economic conditions that are interacting with crypto, what communities do you identify with, what stories are you hearing through your network. So it makes it really interesting to talk about crypto because people have very different sources of information coming with very different concerns and excitement. And so there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of risk as well. And that's something that we're navigating constantly when we are announcing new features, building new products, and just trying to think about how best to serve people and make our crypto products available to everyone. So when it comes to writing for crypto, there's a question of who we need to consider as content designers. So things that I'm thinking about are who dominate these new centralized technologies. Even though crypto is built on blockchain and a lot of things are decentralized, there are still people in positions of power and privilege. There are still people who are on the other end of the spectrum who do not have that power and privilege. And so we need to be thinking about that before we start writing any content that will appear in products. We're also thinking about who created the initial terms and concepts for these technologies. There's a lot of people who are less familiar with crypto, and terms that might seem natural to some people make no sense to someone who is seeing them for the first time. So we also need to consider that, and how can we bring everyone along on this journey together. We also want to consider who stands to benefit from new technology and who may be harmed by new technology. So again, this kind of ties back to what I was mentioning about the fear of missing out and the fear of getting involved. These are very real concerns. And it's always important for us to think about making sure that people are comfortable with how they are getting involved in new technology and what they're doing. We never want someone to do something they're not comfortable with. They need to do what's right for them when it's right for them. And what we want to do is help them get to a place of understanding how they want to be involved. We're also thinking about what we need to consider as content designers. So what problems is new technology trying to solve? What risks and potential harm do we need to actively mitigate? And what opportunities can we safely offer people? So I think in terms of content design, this really comes down to understanding what your product team is trying to achieve and making sure that you understand what the goals of a product are, even if you don't really know what it's going to look like yet. Making sure that we raise risks and potential harms very early, make sure that everyone on the team is sharing the responsibility of thinking about risks and potential harm, and doing the work to educate teams about potential harm. Again, a lot of people can think about crypto from tremendous opportunities, on a large scale. There's a lot of talk about how this provides alternatives to traditional banking, traditional money lending, but of course, on smaller scales in certain communities, risks and harms do exist, and we need to make sure that we're balancing opportunities with risks. And then when it comes to what opportunities we can safely offer people, just being realistic. We never want to overpromise or make offers to people that are not safe and realistic for them. We always want to make sure that we can deliver on what we're telling people, which is challenging in a space that's very new and in a lot of ways undefined. So what we need to consider as content designers is, in general, a lot of people are asking, is this for me when it comes to crypto? If they are crypto curious or not already invested in crypto, there is a really big hurdle to overcome in terms of, getting involved, getting started, taking on those risks. And that's what we want to help people navigate. So to figure out what to start doing as an industry, we want to identify what we need to stop doing. And what we're seeing, that's not helping people, that's not building financial literacy, not enabling people to build wealth, and not helping people get involved. So some ways that we want to lead the industry forward is to really move away from referencing meme culture. This is something that can really make people feel like crypto is not for them if they don't understand these references, if they don't know this history of this very niche culture, then that really excludes a lot of people. We also want to stop relying too much on emoji. Emoji are just often not as clear and common for communicating. They have different meanings in different cultures and contexts. It's basically a whole other language. And so when we rely less on emoji, we can rely more on just clear, straightforward, direct language. And again, we are talking about money, finance. So we do want to have some air of seriousness in a lot of cases where emoji are just not appropriate. We also want to stop offering things that are too good to be true. So we actually want to kind of help people move past this FOMO relationship with crypto and think about what is really best for them in the long term. There will always be opportunities to get involved with crypto. Yesterday was an opportunity, today is an opportunity, and so is tomorrow. So, if you wait, you are missing maybe one thing, but dozens of other opportunities are coming along. So we never want people to feel like they're making mistakes if they don't get involved in something that feels fleeting or ephemeral. There will always be other ways to get started. And we also want to stop expecting people to rely only on their own research. Historically, this is a really big piece of crypto and blockchain, is kind of doing your own research. And of course, that's super important, but for a lot of people, that's just not practical or realistic. They don't know where to get started. They don't know what the reliable sources are for crypto. So as an industry, we can actually be those reliable sources. We can start to give people places they can come to and trust that we have their best interest in mind and we want to help them get started. So building that trust with people rather than putting the burden and the responsibility on them to only be responsible for the information that they are finding. So based on all of these questions and thoughts, there are a lot of emerging principles and guidance that we're working with on my team. So we do have our company voice and style guide, our tone as well. But some things that we're thinking about more generally are just, how to lead the way in crypto. Because this is such a new industry, there are so many different voices out there. And even though we are just one of them, there's a huge opportunity to lead others and set a good example that other companies are welcome to follow. We also want to encourage learning, as I said, within the products so that people who are curious, if they come to OKCoin and they just browse around, even if they don't buy crypto in that moment, they learned something and they can come back and bring that knowledge and maybe build a little bit more. So there's a lot that people can get just by interacting with the product, and hopefully they learn something new every time. And then in terms of building out our content design and content strategy, we always want to use trusted resources. So a lot of times, we're writing with terms that are unfamiliar to us. So as we define those terms, how do we make sure that we're defining them accurately? How do we ensure that we can consistently give people accurate, high quality information? It comes back to, making sure our resources are reliable and trusted, so that we can serve people with the information we're giving them. And we also want to focus on writing to be understood. We are not here to impress anyone with how much we know about crypto. We're not here to be experts by any means. We are really here to help people understand what it is we offer, how it might be right for them, and what they can do to get started or continue to be involved with crypto. That is the most important thing for us to communicate. And then we also want to avoid common reading barriers as much as possible. So we often will look at what other crypto exchanges are doing and make the important decision of, is this a concept that is established enough in the industry that it makes sense to people, or are people really not understanding this yet? And do we need to break it down even further? That's always a challenge, because when you break with the norm, you're asking people to kind of learn a new language. Maybe it's different than what they've seen in other apps and products, but is it more clear? Is it more common to them? That's always what we're thinking about. And so we try to be really thoughtful and intentional with the direction we take when we are introducing new concepts and asking people to do a fair amount of reading within our product experiences. So based on that guidance, I wanted to share a few practical tips that I have found helpful in my own practice. So I try to treat new experiences like learning a new language. When I am writing a flow for one of our products, I basically treat all of these new terms like a brand new language. I don't assume anyone has any experience with them before. So what does it look like to guide someone through, essentially learning a new language within the product? And that's one way that I think I'm able to keep people's mental state in mind. Where are they at as they're coming to this experience? What do they need to know to make decisions? What are they going to be concerned about? What are they going to be unsure about? How to really proactively explain and walk them through a new experience. Another one is making constraints work for you. Of course, constraints are challenging, but they can also lend a lot of focus to the work that you're doing. And so if you can identify constraints really early on, talk to your legal team, talk to your marketing team, talk to your product manager and your engineers, really understand what's not going to be possible or what is just not in scope for this project. You can really focus on where you can have a lot of impact and do a lot of good work. And often that just leads to a lot more clarity for you and more strategic thinking because you know that the things you're focused on are going to make it into the product. It's also really important to identify content risks and opportunities, as I mentioned before. I'm pretty much in contact with our legal partners all the time. They hear from me almost every day. And I think it's kind of a nice relationship to just know that there's mutual trust there. I really rely on them to tell me when things are a risk to the company, when there are things we need to watch out for. And I think that they feel comfortable knowing that they don't have to wonder what me and my team are working on. We will bring concerns to them and they can, kind of step in when we let them know that we have our own concerns. And then basing your decisions on multiple sources. So whenever I'm working on a new product experience, I'm always looking at anything similar in other products that we already have. What are our competitors doing? What do I read about this in the news? What information can I find about this anywhere out there? And making sure that decisions are considering all of these different inputs. Again, in a new technology space, there's not a lot of guidance. We do have our style guide and our standards, but there's a lot of things that come up that we just have not encountered before. So making sure to do really solid, thorough research is always helpful. And then again, leading the industry when it's not serving people. The way things were done before us does not need to be the way they're done moving forward. We have a really unique opportunity in these technology spaces to change things up and lead the industry. And that can come from a large company, that can come from a small company. The beauty of working in tech is that people really get to choose products when there's a lot of options. And if they're choosing your product over, a larger, more established product, that can be an indicator that you're really doing something right and different. So it's pretty cool that we have the ability to try different things and see how people respond. So to put some of these things into practice, I wanted to share a case study. So in the crypto world, there is a lot of different ways to grow crypto that you already have. So you can see here a few other crypto exchanges have these concepts. There's Earn, sometimes it's called staking or DeFi. Sometimes this is considered an advanced trading option. Sometimes this is considered just a part of getting started, as you can see. Sometimes Earn is separate from staking or DeFi. Sometimes they're all one thing, but it's a super important way for someone who even just has a small amount of crypto to stay involved, to keep building the crypto they have. Earn and staking work similarly to a bond or a high yield savings account, where, or a loan, where if you hold on to that asset for a long amount of time, maybe you make it unavailable to yourself and lend it out to others, you can earn additional crypto for doing that. And so you're rewarded for holding on to it, and just kind of staying with it. So really an important mechanism for people who are curious about crypto, who maybe want to get started, or just want to get some crypto and hold on to it and aren't sure what to do with it. Just a really great way to leverage something that you've bought and don't know what to do with. So I worked on launching a product similar to this on OKCoin, and thought a lot about not just what to call it, but how to kind of create a concept and an action and a story around this for people. So we decided to call it Earn. And in particular, Earn is a suite of options. So within Earn, you have savings, you have staking, you have DeFi, you have deals, many, many different ways to earn. But the important thing is that you are holding on to a crypto and letting it make money for you. So within the product experience, you'll see that there's a main Earn tab and a list of different crypto assets. And then there's different rates of return for these crypto assets. So within Earn, you're able to buy any of these assets. Maybe you have them already. None of that really changes how they perform. But the key thing is that you're making one decision per screen here. So there's a lot of steps to get started with Earn. But the first thing is choosing an asset. And once you choose an asset, then you have a second decision to make, and that's kind of choosing the earning option. So you can have this be a flexible or a fixed option. You can see there's differences there. But also it's just really important when people are making this decision to define what is a flexible earning option, what is a fixed earning option, what are the differences? So this side-by-side comparison that you see in the middle screen was super important. Whether you're new to Earn or you've used it before, it's really important that you're comparing side-by-side options and choosing what's right for you. And again, only being asked to make one decision at a time. So once you've selected the crypto that you want to earn on, what is the earning option that is best for you? And then we also want to reward people and let them know that they have made a decision. And as soon as they get started with Earn, that takes effect immediately. Now that crypto that they had is earning them more crypto. And we want to help them recognize that that is a great thing to be doing. Even as the crypto value may go up and down, they're still earning on that crypto that they're holding on to. And hopefully they feel really good about that. And then, of course, helping people learn to navigate the product. So once they have signed up for an Earn option, they can go directly to their portfolio and see how that Earn option fits into their overall crypto landscape, and how it compares to other things they might be doing. So just a lot of gentle guidance here, and helping people get the most value from their crypto, the most value from our product. And then something else that was super important here is how we talk about crypto that is in Earn. So a decision that I made and was pretty adamant about is that we are not using the word balance to refer to crypto. Historically, people understand like the balance in your bank account, and that is a number that is really only affected in your bank account when you put money in or take money out, or maybe you pay a bill. So balance is very transaction based. Crypto is not that. As you may know, crypto goes up and down a lot. And something that we never wanted someone to worry about is that if their Earn balance goes down, that does not mean that they're not earning. The value of their crypto will go up and down. When you're using Earn, your crypto is still on the market. like a stock. So it's not removed from the volatility of the market or the fluctuations. And that's why we decided that instead of calling this a balance, we're calling this the current value. And as you can see on the left, the current value that may go up and down, but what you've earned on deposits will continue to go up. That's the number in green below the larger number. So we want to make clear for people what they have gained from using the earn product, and just make it really clear for them. And of course, you know, if they want to change their mind and end their earn offer and sell that crypto, that is always an option, but we want them to understand what's happening here so that they can make an informed decision for themselves. And then of course, on the far right, you can see that our term entry in Writer does have some examples and some replacement terms, which is really helpful so that we can have that version control and that consistency regardless of who's writing, which was mentioned at the beginning of our sessions today. So that's been really valuable to us as well. And then again, putting into practice some of those principles, we do have our style guide and standards. They're always being reviewed and updated, but I wanted to share an excerpt of our emoji guidance. So we make sure to define whatever is in our style guide. So make sure we're all in agreement on what emoji are. And then some guidance. We want to use emoji infrequently, carefully, and always with peer review. So one of the things with our content design practice is we want people to be empowered to move quickly, but we also want to make clear to people when you really need to stop and get a second or a third opinion. You should be able to know when you can move quickly on something and when the guidance we have is, you know, if you're following that guidance, you're good to go. And when there's just more nuance and uncertainty and there's just no amount of standards we could document that would make you be able to independently use emoji. We just need to be working through it as a team right now to build that out. So also reminding people that emoji are optional and they should never be used in place of written words. They should just help to make a message more clear. They can be used to reinforce our brand identity and our voice. But they're really only appropriate for messages that are more ephemeral, like a push notification. And they should always appear at the end of a phrase, replacing the end punctuation, and really just only use one emoji at a time. We also avoid using a hand gesture emoji because these carry very different meanings across cultures. And again, that means they're not necessarily making the message more clear. And then I also wanted to share some guidance I put together for my team on how to work with our legal partners. So I've found that it's really important to build a foundation for productive conversations. So before you go to your legal team with a question that you're scared about, or maybe a mistake you might have made, or something you're just not sure of, just grab 15 minutes with them and get to know them as people. Learn about what brought them to this company and why they're involved in their field and what they're passionate about with law. And that just honestly makes everything else so much easier and more natural, and also kind of helps you understand where you can find shared values and shared goals to make those conversations more strategic. Also, working together to identify where you'll need to make time for discussion and debate. So product roadmaps are really awesome when they are built with a realistic expectation of how long the work is going to take. But I think, as many of us know, often you have one item in your roadmap, you think you're just going to check that box, and it takes you weeks to get that step done. So your legal team can really help you identify where they're going to want to be involved and where they expect that there's going to be some back and forth. They have so much experience, and I'm not a legal expert, so I really defer to them to kind of help me understand where they want to be involved in a product. And then accepting ambiguity. There are so many times that I need a clear answer from my legal team, and it's just not that simple. But of course, they don't want to get in the way, they want to help. And so sometimes that just means accepting that we need to find a solution for now, but keep working on a bigger policy for later. Or sometimes it means finding a workaround to keep a project moving, even while we have to take more time to work through this other issue. And then reframing obstacles as important signals about the integrity of a product. So sometimes we can get really focused on trying to hit our deadlines, but if we're kind of running into the same legal issue over and over again, that may be a sign that the product is not quite there yet. It is not a good fit, or it just has a risk that is too large for us to be comfortable with. So being open to seeing that and making the hard decision to really go back to the drawing board and make sure that this product is solid. And one of the great things about content design is we can often really be the people who see those issues, because we are trying to describe complex concepts and we are trying to explain how a product works. And if we're really not able to do that in a way we feel good about, that's often going back to the product and how it's designed and how it's intended to work. And then finally, establishing a documentation and feedback system that works for everyone. In my experience, legal partners are supporting so many different projects. So they have to switch context a lot. They want to help, but sometimes they can't join a meeting. And so they need a way to give feedback in a chat or in a document. How can you help them keep things moving forward? Make sure there's a system that works for everyone, because we're all doing so much. But we never want something to fall through the cracks because of that. So that is the end of my presentation. And it looks like I have left 5 minutes for questions.
Oh, you absolutely rock, Amy. That was so amazing. The chat's been running wild. So I am going to summarize kind of 3 buckets of questions that have come out in the chat. And then I'll circle back in the chat once we answer them to see if we've got time for one more. On legal. So it was a great chat, great slide on building the relationship to have the difficult conversations or the more complex conversations. But we had a question around legal shutting down financial literacy copy. Can you talk through any times where you've tried to make things more clear, include more information from a financial literacy perspective, where legal hasn't approved it or gone along with it, and how have you managed that? How have you managed through that?
Yeah, so I think in this case, examples are super helpful, like a version A, a version B, a version C. I think that what I've noticed is when we talk about more information, that means one thing to content design, means a very different thing to our legal partners. Our legal partners love more information to be kind of spelling something out multiple ways. And then on content design, we feel like, well, that starts to confuse people. They're like, wait, you're saying this, but then you're saying that. So literally side-by-side examples are so helpful for that. Especially when you talk about length, asking legal partners, hey, we can spell things out and take 2 paragraphs, but what do you think about this version that is just 5 sentences? Are we capturing everything we need to? Does this make sense? Often we do end up having things be a little bit longer when there is legal input. Sometimes there are bigger words, but we usually find a compromise that we feel good about. And something else that I do think is super important is things that indicate this is legal content. So if you have a link, calling it terms and conditions, people understand that. But if you try to call it something else, people don't necessarily read that as a legal document. So helping signal to people, this is legal, this is going to be a little bit, more complicated than what I've been reading, kind of helps prime them to be prepared for that.
Awesome. We had another question around localization and other languages. So is that something you all are thinking about now as a global platform? How do you content design for global?
Yes. So we are very actively working on this. And we have a separate kind of guideline for global content. Not everything we write does go through this process, but for anything that does, kind of our own globalization style guide. And we're also just really in touch with our localization partners, especially when we are thinking about new branded terms or really large concepts for the company. We want to talk to our localization partners early and understand what feedback they have.
Awesome. And last question around plain language. So in financial services, it is a very, very big concept. Has that made the jump over to this new asset class? You know, what is the familiarity with plain language? Are you regulated for plain language? How have you thought about those clarity principles?
Yeah, so we work really closely with our researchers on this to understand what is plain language in crypto. It is a fascinating topic, depending on what market and what type of person you're talking to, it really varies. So at this point, it really comes down to understanding your audience and your market and catering specifically to them. And that means it's going to look a little different in a lot of cases.
Got it. Awesome. This was so amazing. You rocked it, Amy. What a fascinating company and role and job you are doing for all of us. And I think we all learned a lot more about crypto today. So
Thank you so much for
thank
having
you
me.
so
This
much.
was so fun.
Thank you. Really appreciate you. Thank you.